Dublin, August 1985. Two Dubliners on the Dart. This is the new suburban rail system. Just opened. It has changed their lives. They could now venture far afield from their home in Darndale, North Dublin.
We used to always get on the Dart and go out to Bray and go out to Dunleary, and so these are all kind of new places. So and then we realised that there was a boat, the ferry, that went from Dunleary over to England, so that was an extended version of the adventure, if you like. We went over a couple of times. Like, we used to do this kind of on a regular thing. We'd go over to bunk on the ferry over to England and then go from there, jump on a train or a coach or wherever and go on an adventure.
That's Keith Byrne, talking about heading off with a couple of friends. But that's Keith Byrne now. In 1985, when he was getting the Dart to Dunleary and sneaking on the ferry to England, Keith was 10.
We'd gone to Pwllheli in the holiday camp, like Butlins and Pontins and Blackpool, I think, as well. We went to as well.
So, Keith Byrne, aged 10, and his friend Noel Murray, aged 13, are sitting on the Dart train into town. But the town they're heading for isn't Dublin. In fact, it isn't even in Ireland. Keith and Noel's final destination is so far away, and the story of their epic journey there causes such a fuss that within a couple of days, these two boys sitting on a Dublin train in August 1985 will become front page news.
This is Morning Ireland. It's 8:15. The news headlines. Two Dublin boys.
The news headlines. Two Dublin boys, aged 10 and 13, have been returned to Ireland after stowing away.
The boys, 13-year-old Noel Murray and 10-year-old Keith Byrne, are now back home, none the worse for their adventure.
Welcome back, and first today, that amazing journey by two young stowaways from Dublin. Noel Murray and Keith Byrne.
In a hotel in Amsterdam, 24 gone years to conclude in tears, and the sickest joke was the price of the medicine. Are you laughing at me now? May I please laugh along?
The day of Keith's adventure began quietly enough.
We were kind of just hanging around our local area, basically. We had Noel just knocked in for me into my house. My mum had asked me to go around and get some potatoes in the shop. I brought them back. My mum says, don't go far, your dinner's nearly ready or whatever. And I says, I won't. I was in the garden. And then he just says, let's go out to Dunleary, and it kicked off from there. I was born and bred in Dublin, reared in Cabra, and then we moved to Drumcondra for a couple of months, and then we eventually moved out to Belcamp 26 years ago.
Keith's school life was unsettled too. In 1985, at the time of this story, he was in St. Joseph's Industrial School in Clonmel.
I was basically truanting from school, not going to school and acting the idiot and whatever else, so I was sent down there for my sins. We were very, very streetwise for our age, you know, kind of like when we were living in Drumcondra. I was only around 7 years of age, 8 years of age, and my mum used to have to collect her money up in Cabra. Because she had young kids, she couldn't make the journey, and I used to get on the bus. I was only 7 and 8. I used to get on the bus, get off the bus at Fisborough, and get on the Cabra bus up to Cabra, get off the bus up there, meet me nanny, go to the post office, collect the money and make the journey back. And you know, I was like wide enough to do that at that age, and wide enough, I used to put the money in my sock, and you know, like I was like, I would have been way ahead of other kids at that stage. You know, we were quite streetwise, you know. We got off at Blackrock first. We had got some haversacks and tracksuits and things like that. We had shoplifted them in the shopping centre out there. And then got off at Dunleary, and then had tried to get on the ferry once, got stopped, and then we managed to get on to the next ferry.
Weather conditions en route, they are improving all the time, although we do have a fresh westerly wind. Only slight seas and swell mid-channel on the last crossing. If we could take a few more minutes of your time, please, and we'll be taking down.
Got over to England then, and then we just waited on the train then. The train went directly from Holyhead to London. And we met some guy on the train who got chatting to him and told him we'd know where to stay for the night, and he says you can sleep on my floor for the night, and I'll bring us back to the train station and you can do what you want from there the next day. That like London was a dangerous place in the night time, and he didn't want to leave us on the streets kind of thing. We stayed in his house for the night, and he drove us back to the train station the next morning.
This is Hatton Cross. Customers for Heathrow Terminal 4 should change across platform at this station for a train to Terminals 4 and 123. This is a Piccadilly line service to Cockfosters.
We had got on the tube. We had seen the sign Heathrow Airport, and we just got off there and went up the escalator stairs, and we were smack bang in the middle of Heathrow Airport. And we were kind of thinking, we'll fly home. We'll see can we get on a plane and fly home to Dublin. That was our idea at the time. So we kind of come up the escalator, and we were smack bang in the middle of this huge place that was nothing like Dublin Airport at all. It was like 10 times the size. We were just amazed. There was like some kind of a fountain thing that you throw money in, like a wish-a-mail thing, and we had taken some money out of that.
You know, microwaves are really so simple, and that's what makes it good.
In the airport we had found these like lounge chair seats where you put a coin in and you can watch a TV screen.
Monday, wrote Mr. Kipling, in the form of my exceedingly delicious apple pie.
Else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
We were sitting there for an hour or two just putting money in the machine and sitting there watching the telly, and but that was it. We were just having fun basically.
At one point in the airport, Keith and Noel were spotted by security. The officer thought it was suspicious that two boys, aged 10 and 13 years old, were wandering around the terminal, seemingly alone. It was then the boys came out with a response that was to carry them on much further in their journey.
We just says, my mum's coming with the tickets now and the bags and things, so she just says, okay, just wait for your parents. So we just walked and stopped for a minute, and when she wasn't watching, we just kind of legged it off so she didn't see us, like, kind of thing.
The same trick got them through the main airport security and into the shopping area.
We walked on through, like we just had a little carry bag with us, a plastic bag with a few sweets and things like that in it. That was it basically. They just let us walk through kind of thing when we told them our parents was coming with the tickets.
For the two boys, this wasn't so much duty free as plain old free.
We were walking around all the shops and we were fascinated by all the stuff, and how easy it was, to just pick things up and take things basically, We got another little rucksack thing and we started taking bits of jewellery like chains and bracelets. We took Philly shave and other kind of little nicky-nacky items and things like that, and then when we were kind of bored at the shops part, we kind of started walking in the direction where all the people were walking, and there was these flat escalators that move along the ground, and I remember we got on one of them and we just asked the man, where is this plane going? And he says, New York. And we kind of just looked at each other and says, yeah, we'll go.
Finally, they got to the boarding gate and the airline staff checking boarding passes. This would be the end of their adventure. Surely the line about parents lagging behind wouldn't work again.
They asked the same question, who he is with or whatever, and we just says, their mam's coming, she has the boarding passes, and mum and dad is coming, they have the boarding passes. So they just says, okay, go on. They were obviously just busy and they just slipped their mind, and we just walked on down the plane and just sat on 2 seats, and a person come down and says, they're their seats. So we just got up and moved back 2 sets of seats and sat down, and the plane was only half full, so no one came near us. I can remember there was a lot, 20, 30 seats around us that was empty. So we were kind of, would have been a jumbo jet kind of, they hold a lot of people. So there was a lot of seats that were empty.
There may have been a good reason a lot of seats were empty. The plane the 2 boys had wandered onto was an Air India jumbo jet. 2 months previously, almost to the day, an Air India jet had blown up off the southwest of Ireland. 329 people had perished.
Before we knew it, the doors closed on the plane and it was ready to take off.
In the overhead units, in case falling cabin pressure, individual oxygen mask will drop automatically. Cover your nose and mouth with the mask and breathe normally.
We couldn't believe that no one had actually copped on to what we were doing, or these 2 kids are sitting on their own, and who's with them or anything like that. It wasn't actually till the plane had taken off and was in the air when they were going around with the meals. The air hostess came up to us again, and we remember sitting on our own, and says, would we like something to eat, and where was our parents? And we just says that they were up on the front of the plane, and they gave us a curry, called it an Indian curry, which I can remember was too hot for me, so I didn't take it. I didn't eat it. I just ate the bap that was with it and some water. We were watching the James Bond film on the TV screen.
Have security keep a good eye on him. Oh, by the way, you didn't say what part of the state you come from, Miss...
No, I didn't.
So we were sitting there just kind of bet into that, watching that. And we were kind of bored, so we were just walking around the plane and going back to our seats, and Noel had fallen asleep and I was just rambling up and down, and then I come back down and I fell asleep, and then we kind of just landed then in America. When the plane landed at John F. Kennedy Airport and taxied over to where you got off the plane, the doors opened and everyone just started getting off, and we kind of just milled in with the crowd getting off the plane.
Senior Fair representative, please proceed to the
there was like a kind of a security thing there again where they look for your passport and things like that. They stopped us and they kind of asked, you know, where's your passport, where's your papers and things like that, and we just told them the same thing, like, oh yeah, ma'ams, because we were kind of pretty much at this stage up near the front of the people, so we just says, oh yeah, we pointed kind of in a backwards direction, oh yeah, ma'am's coming with the papers now, and kind of when they weren't looking and they were dealing with other people, we were kind of like just ducked under they were kind of in like little security boxes with glass on them, and they had kind of wood kind of halfway up, if you like, about 3 feet up. And we kind of just ducked down and ducked under and went. And once we got past them, like, we were out into the, you know, the centre of the airport. We had kind of looking around, just walking around the airport. It was so big, huge. We were fascinated by everything, all the different people. Like, because like at this stage in Ireland, there wasn't that many black people or different like nationalities and that, and like in the middle of John F. Kennedy Airport in 1985, you have all different kind of people. So we were just totally fascinated, and everyone is so tall, and you know, everything is just bigger. And so we were walking around the airport for nearly 2-3 hours just looking at everything and fascinated by everything before we even ventured outside the airport.
At 6.
They had telly things and the seat things again.
Glenda Prentice, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
We sat in them looking at them for about an hour. We had the backpack with the stuff that we had stolen in Heathrow and things like that, and we were wondering, like, well, if we sell this, who can we sell this to get some money or whatever?
The actual retail price is $1,570. Kathleen, you win.
We kind of had decided, like, we'll go into the town, as we called it, like, because over here it's called like town. You go into town, you go into Dublin city centre, but we weren't thinking like this big New York City. We weren't thinking on that scale.
So now, you have 2 Irish schoolboys in the middle of JFK Airport, one aged 10, one aged 13. Keith was supposed to go in for his dinner in Darndale on a Thursday afternoon. Instead, he and Noel bunked off on the Dart. They stayed on as far as Dunleary Ferryport. They sneaked onto a ferry bound for England, got a train to London, got the tube to Heathrow Airport, and blagged their way onto a New York-bound jumbo jet. All this they did with a bit of boyish charm, cunning, and the odd few words. They were ready to take on Manhattan, but it was not to be. For it was the few words that would let them down.
We had seen this person in a uniform who we thought was a security guard, and so we walked up to him, and anyway, not realising that he was a policeman, and asked him, like, "Hey, mister, how do you get into town?" And he kind of looked at us a bit strange, and he kind of says, "Who you guys with?" And we just says, "Well, we're our mum and dad." You know, and he says, "Where is your parents?" And at that stage, I think it dawned on us that, like, oh shit, like, what we had to do, and, like, we kind of got afraid then, like, we're at the being travelling on a plane for so many hours, we're like thousands of miles away from home. And we kind of just said to him, "Look, we're not with anyone, we're on our own," and we says we're at the bonking on the plane. And he didn't understand what we were meaning. He just says, "Hang on, guys, for a minute," and he got on his radio, his walkie-talkie, and a police car just pulled up then, and he put us in the back and brought us to I think it was the 15th precinct or something like that.
From the top of the Empire State Building, WHTZ, Newark, New Jersey, New York. Falcon C-100.
Brought us there, and we were kind of celebrities. You know, when we got there, it was kind of, look at these two guys, like they're with no one, and they says that they're at the stowaway and on a plane, and that's when we first heard the word stowaway, because we had never heard of that word before or anything. We were with the guards, so we kind of knew we were safe, if you know what I mean, and that they'd kind of organised some way of getting us home, like, although nobody had said that to us or anything like that. They had just kind of asked us questions of what we had done and how we had done it and things like that, and we just decided amongst the two of us that we'll tell the truth and we'll tell them everything, because like we just wanted to go home as quickly as possible at this stage.
The fact that Keith and Noel decided to fess up and cooperate didn't mean they still weren't going to have fun.
They had us in a room and with a desk, and there was a police officer sitting where he was asking us questions, and every couple of minutes there was detectives coming in and, you know, sitting down and laughing and joking with us. And like one detective come in and he had a gun on the side of him, and I was fascinated by this, and I asked him, you know, is that a gun you have? And he says, yeah. And I says, can I hold it, you know? And he says, yeah. And he took out this big thing, like that's wooden, well, brown wooden handle and then steel, and I had the barrel on it thing. Well, he had actually took the bullets out onto his hand first, and then clipped the barrel back up and handed it to me then, and my hand kind of jerked it in a downwards motion, you know, like with the weight of it. And I was kind of holding it and pointing it around, and I pointed at my friend Noel and went bang, you know, like that, and messing and pointed it at them, and he just took it back at me and started laughing and saying, you guys are crazy, and all, like saying to us, like, you know.
The Stowaway Boys' arrival at the police station was entertaining, until they said what airline they had arrived on.
When we told them the airline that we had come on was an Air India plane, this is a security issue, like, because one of their planes had been blown up out of the sky or whatever like that, so like they were literally like going mad, you know. They decided that they wanted to investigate this like properly and see how we had done it, because it was getting a bit serious at that stage. Like the laughing had stopped, and it was more of a kind of security reason, and like, Jesus, how are these guys after doing this? And you know what I mean, like it was kind of, they were thinking more on the lines of terrorists and things like that. Like, you guys could have having bombs or anything, and you've done this. Like, this is very important that you show us how you've done this and how you've managed to get through this. Put us in a hotel in a penthouse suite with 5 security guards overnight, and gave us BLTs and chips and everything, fed us like lords, like we loved it. At first they had us handcuffed to the bed, and like I kept slipping my hand out of the handcuffs because I had only tiny little hands, and they were getting annoyed by that, so they ended up just taking the handcuffs off us and just letting us sit on the beds and whatever. They wouldn't let us go outside the room, they let us watch any telly we wanted.
Turn it on, leave it on. America, see the music you want to see.
I want my own TV.
We still had the bits of jewellery and the things and that, and we had been thinking, like, because we had no money, what we were going to do with this. When we were in the police precinct, we had asked a few of the detectives and that, who had, as I said, shown us the gun and that, what their money had looked like. Now, we kind of knew what dollars looked like, but we were kind of being cute and like kind of playing dumb and whatever. And when they were taking out like $1 or $10 and showing us, that we were looking at it, like saying, oh Jesus, look at that, can I have that and all. And a few of them had given us, no, yeah, go on, like, and we had like about $70 or $80 at the time. And we just, as we kind of got talking to the security detail, I took some of the jewellery out of the little haversack thing that we had, and I was looking at it, and they were looking at it and saying, where'd you guys get that and all. And we asked them, did they want to buy it? And like they bought some off us, you know. And we asked like who was it for? And they said they were going to give it to the hookers over there. When they told us in detail, like prostitutes or whatever, like we were, well, here we didn't care. We were selling it. They were giving us money, and so we hadn't a penny going over. And like coming home, like we'd $200 or $300.
The boys may have been living like lords, but back in Ireland, the boys' parents were frantic.
My mum, she got a knock on the door, and she had reported me missing, obviously, like, and because we were gone at this stage, we were gone for 3 or 4 days, and it was quite serious. Like, she was totally worried sick and that, but she told us that she just got a knock on the door like in the evening, and it was a policeman from Coolock, and he says, Miss Byrne, yes, you have a son, Keith Byrne. Yeah, well, we found him. And she says, oh, that's great. And he says, we found him in JFK airport. And my mum says, oh, great, the airport, he's only in the airport. And she says, what airport? JFK airport? Where is that? And he says, America. And she says, what? America? What the hell is Keith doing in America?
Joe! Dynasty.
Joe?
Sunny Florida.
The following day, they kind of woke us up, gave us some breakfast and that.
This week on Good Morning America.
Weekdays at 5 on Channel 30.
And brought us to the airport. When we got to the airport, they kind of had some part of a shutdown kind of thing, and they brought us right up to where the plane had come in, and we showed them which corridor, because we remembered which corridor we had come through and come down, and showed them like we got off the plane here and we walked down here, and we told them when we got to the immigration kind of thing how we got through that, and like what we had told the immigration guy, and ducked under the thing, like, and like he was busy. It wasn't his kind of fault, you know, like, because we knew he'd kind of probably get into trouble or something like that, you know. So like we showed him every way that we went and everything, and then told him we were in the airport for 2 or 3 hours later after that. They brought us back to the hotel, and there was reporters trying to get up to the room to see us and things like that. They actually kept us in New York for about 2 days. We went back later on that evening, and we had to go back over what we had told them earlier on that day, go through the whole thing again, and you know, because the airport was so big and we had to show them every way, they wanted to get everything right down to detail, and we showed them all that, and then like we were told them we were going home then the next day. The security guys, 2 of them brought us out in a car. Brought us to the Empire State Building and bought us a monument, little tourist kind of thing, if you like, of the little square piece of marble with the Empire State Building on it. We had flags with I Love New York on it. Banners, I Love New York, things. They bought us things like that and all, and gave us that. They brought us back to the airport.
Have your attention, all Aer Lingus passengers. At this time, we'd like to welcome all remaining passengers to board.
We were on an Aer Lingus plane, we were safe, you know. We knew then we were going home. We were going to meet our parents.
This is Morning Ireland. It's 8:15. The news headlines. 2 Dublin boys who stowed away on an Air India flight from London to New York are due back home shortly.
Gander, Shamrock 115, flight level 330, estimating overhead.
Despite feeling safe and looking forward to meeting their parents, Keith and Noel decided they'd played along with the authorities for long enough.
So we were kind of thinking then, oh, my mum's going to kill me and my dad's going to kill me, and we were thinking, geez, what are we going to say? And, you know, like what's going to happen, like who's going to be there when we get off the plane. And because we were so worried, like what's mum and dad going to do, we're going to get killed, like Jesus, look what we're at to doing. We says, like, we kind of found out on the plane that we stopped off at Shannon on the way. When we heard that, we says, right, we'll jump off at Shannon and then like we'll make our way home. Nobody will know, and then we'll just make our way home quietly, and you know, everyone will forget about it, and we'll just go home, and you know, everything will be alright, you know. And I don't know, but I think they drugged us or something on the plane, because we got a drink about half an hour before we arrived in Shannon, and it just totally knocked the two of us out. The two of us fell asleep.
News headlines. 2 Dublin boys who stowed away on an Air India flight from London to New York have arrived home.
And when we woke up, like, the police were standing beside us, everyone else had gone off the plane, and like we had to come down the stairs and walk across the runway, and they brought us into the security area, and Coolock Gardaí were waiting there for us, and they took control of us then.
And the details now from Anne Doyle.
2 Dublin boys who stowed away on an Air India flight from London to New York at the weekend are now back home, none the worse for their adventure and a little richer. The boys, 13-year-old Noel Murray and 10-year-old Keith Byrne, are both from the Dublin suburb of Darndale. They were discovered by New York police on Saturday standing on a pavement near the airport terminal. They first told police they had lost their tickets and their mothers had their passports. But the police contacted Gardaí in Dublin and found they had been missing from home for several days. Earlier last week,
there was a guard from Coolock who knew us quite well. We used to put him through like a lot of bother kind of thing, you know. And he was there, and when he seen us, he says, "You know what? You're 2 feckers, you know." He says, "What have you got up to now?" And he kind of grabbed us and took. And there was another guard with him, and they just threw us into the back of a squad car.
New York police had given them money with which they bought souvenirs for their families, and still had a few cents left over.
There was all photographers and all snapping photographs and everything else, and we were kind of waving out the window and roll down the window and out with the flags, and he was like, "Get them windows up and you don't be waiting, who just think is hard," and all celebrities and you know all this, and we were just having great crack, you know, like.
Our reporter Pádraig Ó Tuama was there and spoke to a somewhat subdued young Keith Byrne and to his parents. The boys' first attempt to get to Britain on the Holyhead ferry last Thursday failed, and they were sent back to Dublin then. But, as Keith explains, they were not to be put off.
We went back on the boat to Holyhead again, got the train to London, the plane to New York.
Was it hard to get out to the airport in London?
No.
How did you do that?
By train and bus.
Did you have tickets?
We paid on the bus, but not on the train.
So when you got to the airport, did you know what you wanted to do?
No, not really.
And why did you pick on New York? Did you want to go to New York?
No, we just asked the man where was the plane going. It says New York, so we just got on the plane.
Was there many people at the gate checking for tickets and that?
Yeah, good few.
And did any of them stop you?
Yeah, but we just says my ma's coming with the tickets.
My ma's coming with the tickets.
And they believed that?
Yeah.
So when you got on the plane then, did somebody ask you for a ticket there?
No.
And was it a long journey or did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
And were you hungry? Did you get anything to eat?
Yeah. They were serving me things on the plane.
And did you eat them?
No.
Didn't like them.
What did they give you?
Curry stuff. Curry and rice.
So when you got to New York then, did you walk off the plane with the other people?
Yeah.
And what were you hoping to do? Did you want to get bus into town?
My friend did. We asked the policeman what way is it into town, and he just asked us what was our name. We got tickets for being over there, and we said no. He brought us off to the police station.
My mum and dad just threw their arms around me like I was expecting to get killed, you know. But my mum was just in floods of tears, and my dad they were just like so happy to see us.
I don't think I could have done any more than putting him down there, letting him home on the holidays. He was told not to move out. His dinner was on, a 1:30 on Thursday, and when I looked out again, Keith was gone.
They apparently had tried to get out of Ireland twice last week. Are you afraid that they might do this again?
Yes, that's all I was worried, that once they had tight security on him this morning when he got to Dublin.
Did they ring you from England or did they contact you?
No, America did. Sergeant Harrison, he was terrible nice. He asked me, did I love him? Did I want him home? And when I last seen him, and I told him since Thursday.
Well, I think they might have been expecting that he would be caught. But it's just when they weren't caught.
Lieutenant Richard Richards of the New York Port Authority Police at JFK Airport has been telling us about the two boys' journey.
One of the things that they wanted to see was some of the sights here in New York. The Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building was one that they mentioned, and we also have some tall towers down at the foot of Manhattan Island here. The World Trade Center.
So they had an itinerary planned out?
Well, yeah, I think that they kind of were an adventuresome twosome, and they were certainly prepared for their itinerary and their journey.
You think they might try it again?
I don't know.
I wouldn't say try it again. No, I think he's learned his lesson. Well, hopefully he has this time.
But for now, he's home to stay.
He's home, thank God. That's all I want.
Well, do you find it amazing that they managed to make it all the way to Kennedy?
Well, they're quite enterprising young people. They appear in the American vernacular to be what we consider streetwise. I think that perhaps if they continue this, they someday will be the head of some large corporation.
Keith or Noel didn't become CEOs.
Me and Noel split up around 16. I just kind of stayed with my mates and he went on and done whatever he was doing, you know.
But for Keith, he did just as well as anyone during the boom time, before losing his job in the building trade. Keith's a family man, loves his kids, and it's clear he and his partner plan to raise them right. When they're out playing in the garden, he keeps a close eye on them, and they always come in for their dinner.
I don't think there'd be any chance that you'd get away with it nowadays with everything that's going on with the planes and the security that they have nowadays, you know, like there'd be no way you'd get away with it now, or, you know, they wouldn't fall for that old trick, or my mum's coming behind me, you know, like they'd be too wide for that, you know, like. Nowadays I don't talk about it. I wouldn't bring it up in conversation, but like if it's brought up in conversation or whatever, like I'll talk a little bit about it, kind of, you know. It's a happy like experience or a happy memory, you know, like it's not a sad memory or anything, like, you know. I still haven't lost that adventurous nature, you know, like I love travelling different places, and me and my partner would go off and on drives. We'd drive down to Kilkenny and Carlow still and the week and things like that, you know, and I'd bring the kids off and walks around.